For more than 100 years, there's been this one question that just perfectly captures the future we all thought we'd have by now. Where is my flying car? Well, in this explainer, we're actually going to answer that. And get this quote, it's not from some sci-fi writer dreaming things up. Nope, that was Henry Ford. The Henry Ford. He said that way back in 1940. So this wasn't just some fantasy, right? This was a prediction from one of the biggest industrial minds on the planet. And it basically set us all up to expect flying cars. So, if Henry Ford was so sure, where is it? Why aren't we all zipping around in the sky? That's what we're here to figure out. We're going to break down exactly why this has been so hard, look at the prototypes that came so close, dig into the roadblocks they hit, and then check out the brand new ideas that might, just might, finally get us there. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the dream we were promised. Then we'll get into the big problem, the car versus plane paradox. After that, we'll check out 3 modern paths to the sky, talk about the massive system needed to make it work, and finally, we'll ask the big one. When do we actually take off? Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, the dream we were promised. And this is so important to get. The flying car is not some new futuristic idea. No way. It's a really tough engineering problem that people have been trying to crack for well over 100 years. And you can see that persistence right here. I mean, look at this. All the way back in 1917, you have the Curtiss autoplane doing these little hops. Then you get the Aerobile in 37, which actually flew. The Aerocar in 49 was so successful they built 6 of them. And that brings us to the modern era with things like the Terra-Fugia transition. The point is, the dream never, ever died. It just kept hitting the same walls over and over again. And that wall, that fundamental problem, that brings us to the heart of it all, the car versus plane paradox. This is the big one. The real reason you can't just buy a flying car today is that, honestly, everything that makes a car a good car makes it a terrible plane. And you guessed it, everything that makes a plane a good plane makes it a lousy car. Just look at this breakdown. It's perfect. For a car, you need it to be heavy and strong, right? You want to survive a crash. But for a plane, your number one enemy is weight. You have to be as light as possible. Think about the engine. A car engine is all about stop-and-go city traffic. A plane engine needs to run at full tilt constantly for a long time. But here's the kicker. A car is literally designed to hug the ground. A plane is designed to, well, leave the ground. They are fundamentally at war with each other from an engineering perspective. Oh, and it gets so much worse. You think that was it? No. The wings, they have to somehow fold up to fit in a normal driving lane. The controls, how does a steering wheel and pedals work for both driving and flying? And the regulations, you have to pass all the safety tests for cars and all the safety tests for airplanes. 2 totally different, super strict government agencies. And every little thing you love in your car, the AC, the comfy seats, the stereo, that's all just dead weight in the air. It's a nightmare. So you can see why trying to cram all that into one vehicle is, well, pretty much impossible. And that's why today's engineers are thinking differently. They're getting really creative. They've stopped trying to just stick wings on a car. Instead, they're exploring 3 totally different ways to get us into the sky. Okay, path number 1 is the classic approach, the roadable aircraft. The easiest way to think about this is it's a plane that you can drive. It's an airplane first and a car second. The wings fold up, you drive it on the road, but really, this is for pilots. It's for someone who wants to land their plane and then just drive it home from the airport. It's not really for your daily commute to the office. The Terra-Fugia transition? That's a perfect example. Now, the second path is the one you've probably heard all about lately, the eVTOL. That stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing. Basically, think of them as big, quiet electric drones you can ride in, an air taxi. They don't drive on roads at all. They just take off and land vertically, like a helicopter, from special spots called vertiports. Now, this is cool because you don't need a runway, but it creates a whole new headache, the first and last mile problem. You still got to get from your house to the vertiport, and then from the landing spot to your actual destination. And that last mile problem leads us right into the third and, honestly, most futuristic idea, the modular concept. This is where you really start thinking outside the box. The idea is to stop trying to combine a car and a plane and just separate them. So you'd ride in a passenger pod that sits on an electric car base. When it's time to fly, that car base drives you to a flight module, your pod clicks into place, and whoosh, the flight module takes you away. See? The car part can be a perfect car and the plane part can be a perfect plane. No compromises. So the big question is, which of these ideas is going to win? Well, some researchers actually ran the numbers. They modeled what would happen in big cities, and what they found was pretty mind-blowing. Because that modular door-to-door concept solves the first and last mile problem, it has a way, way bigger potential market than the air taxi eVTOLs.
And I'm not talking a small difference. Look at this. For a city like Shanghai, the projected demand is more than 4 times higher for the modular systems. 4 times! It turns out, not having to take an extra trip to a special airport makes a huge difference. That's the key to getting lots of people to actually use them.
Okay, but here's a reality check. Even if we build the perfect vehicle, that's only half the story. It's not just about the flying machine. To make this work, we have to build a whole new system, a whole new ecosystem to manage all this traffic in the sky. And that is a way bigger challenge than just building a cool vehicle. This is where you start hearing the official buzzword UAM, which stands for Urban Air Mobility. That's the industry term for this whole new layer of transportation above our cities. And this isn't science fiction anymore. Big agencies like the FAA are already working on the rulebook for it. They're trying to figure out how to build a safe and efficient highway in the sky. And to manage that sky highway, you're going to need a whole new industry. For instance, the FAA is talking about something called a PSU, a provider of services for UAM. These would be companies whose whole job is to manage the data, the navigation, the weather, making sure vehicles don't crash into each other. It's basically a brand new high-tech air traffic control system just for flying cars. Yeah, the complexity here is just massive. So that brings us all the way back to the beginning. We've seen the history, the paradox, the new ideas, and the huge system we need to build. So when? When will we actually take off? Well, the truth is, there are still some pretty big hurdles in the way. Technologically, we need way better batteries. I'm talking 5 to 10 times more powerful than what we have today. To really make this mainstream, the vehicles have to be totally autonomous and, affordable. Then you have all the other stuff, building the landing pads, writing the laws, and maybe the biggest one of all, getting all of us to be okay with thousands of these things flying over our heads every day.
So the real answer to where's my flying car, it's not a date. It's not going to be 2035 or 2050. The answer is that we're not waiting for a year to arrive. We're waiting for a whole series of major breakthroughs in batteries, in software, in regulations. Once those dominoes fall, then we'll get our flying car.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. When you look at these new ideas, like the air taxis and the modular pods, you have to wonder, maybe we've been asking the wrong question for 100 years. Maybe the future isn't a better car that can fly. Maybe it's a future that doesn't need a car at all.